so I put this off for too long. Here we go, just me recording the episode 4 of the podcast, and right now we are sitting at 6,766 zombie eliminations at this point. And the highest round I've gotten to on the the Shi no Numa Vanguard map is actually the what's it called? The round 38, and I think the way I've gotten that round is by simply just switching weapons. I've switched to the combat shotgun as my primary weapon, and just by using that, it's really unbalanced because I got so far and got so many eliminations just by switching the weapon and putting my mind to doing a good job there. So that's the highest round I've ever been in that version of the game. Recently, as I've said previously on the podcast a few months ago, we recently moved to a new address, which also implicates, at least partially, changing the church or parish we attend as far as, Orthodox Church. We used to attend a, Western Rite Antiochian church. We're still going to go to that like once a month or so. But what we're doing is we're also attending a Eastern Rite Orthodox Church in America parish, and really liking the new atmosphere and surroundings of where we live. Really been acclimating to the new family life and everything, so that's been going pretty well. The other thing I would like to say is we recently had each Sunday there's a feast that's celebrated in the church. We previously celebrated one of the revised Julian calendar, so recently celebrated the Feast of Pentecost, which is when the Holy Spirit descended upon the apostles and the church was founded. And then the Sunday after that, which was this most recent Sunday, was the Sunday of All Saints, which is one of my favorite feast days. Celebrates every saint in the Orthodox Church. And I guess that's just my general thoughts on religious festivals that are happening. But I guess later on in this podcast I might discuss my thoughts on religious topics more. But what I would say is a lot of the time when you focus on certain topics of a political or religious nature, can become toxic really fast depending on who you're speaking to or who your audience is. For example, even though a lot of people have good intentions with things like having conversations about these two topics, especially if you go to Twitter, it becomes quickly a big cesspool of toxicity, I would say, actually on both sides in general. But like when you have people with completely opposite opinions contrasting with each other, that's what can cause it to completely devolve into like a verbal, the old word was like a flame war is what they call it, except it's not really with spoken words, it's with written words, if that makes sense at all. But as I said before, we're continuing on with the podcast. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're seeing the footage of the zombie games in the background that I've been playing recently. Especially the map I've been focusing on is Shi no Numa from Vanguard. As I said earlier, I've been doing pretty well with that. Also, I feel like I need to at least eventually soon bunker down a little bit more with a lot of my creative endeavors. I have a whole outline for a novel version of the book I'm working on, which is The Banner of the Broken Cross and the Storm of the Worlds, which is basically like this kind of Narnia-esque epic kind of poem cross between Lord of the Rings and like anything epic that you could imagine. Lord of the Rings, Golden Compass, and that's his Dark Materials. It's basically kind of like a Narnia from like a Orthodox Christian kind of perspective. I think in a lot of ways, either like subconsciously or consciously, religion does influence a lot of my writing and creative work. One time I was at a book signing, I was at this table, near my old neighborhood where I used to live, and the guy came up to me and was looking at the book titles. Look, these are all spiritual type books, he said, and I was like, yeah, that's correct. And I just thought of it myself, like I didn't realize it, that every single book I wrote has like sort of like a spiritual kind of title. But I think spirituality is what causes people to be interested in something. Like, you have to have a spiritual connection with something to have that kind of interest. Without it, like, it's like you don't really have anything to work with, but anyway, also been working on, as everyone can see, a lot of music. The current project is the American poet LG for the Light music album, which is basically like the book I wrote, which is a very political kind of book. It's kind of like a spiritual successor to American Idiot, based on the current political climate. American Idiot's the album by Green Day, which was slightly political, tells a story about this character who is disenfranchised by the current actions of the president at the time. It's sort of like a similar kind of thing, just with a different cast of characters, basically. But what I've done is because a lot of the stuff that's already in that book is already a song, basically. With a lot of the narrative elements, I'm also trying to put that stuff to music. Since it's already a poem, it works very well with being put to verse. So I'm trying to put that stuff to verse in my at least a demo version of all the songs first, and then once that's done, I will work on a more polished, finalized kind of thing that will, with the ultimate goal of releasing it to Spotify with guitar, at least like drum loops. I'm sorry, the guitar definitely, which is a real electric guitar, because I do have one. You have to buy a bass guitar and add that to the tracks, and since drums are very expensive and they don't really fit and they make a lot of noise, that's probably just gonna be a lot of drum loops for the drum tracks, and then I might add some miscellaneous extra stuff like violin or other kinds of instruments and special standout moments where like it's featured in a song. I've recently done a little bit more walking than usual. So what I would also like to report here, because I've done one walk outside recently, which is about 10 minutes, but it's better than nothing, and that gets me in the the mood to do more creative things when I feel like I'm more exercising and doing more physical activity. And I'm thinking about resuming the walking vlogs, but not sure if that's going to happen. A lot of my thoughts are that I'm kind of in some ways burning out with all of the work that I've been doing, basically, but I feel like in a lot of ways I do need a break, because a lot of stuff can get really stressful fast. So and if you don't take a break, you burn out, and that causes a lot of health issues in a lot of different ways. Work does I am really happy with the job I have, but work does get me it keeps me motivated. I feel like when I have something to do, it's easier to continue. But when you just left to your own devices, you feel kind of bewildered and not sure what to do or what to accomplish. And but the downside to that is you have a consistent schedule, it can get stressful, but it's a balance that you need in your life. I think that's the case with a lot of things. If something gets unbalanced, too much of anything can be a bad thing. So that's what I would leave you guys with at this point. And next episode hopefully will come out next week. I'm trying to release these weekly. Obviously that can't always happen, but that's what I'm trying to do. So if there's nothing else I could think of at this point, beyond the fact that I'm looking forward to, in the future at least, traveling to other countries when my wife's green card thing is approved and we're good with that. But that's really all I wanted to say right now. Just hopefully everyone, God bless, and thanks for listening. I will catch you guys hopefully next week, but we'll see. No promises though.